Good evening and welcome to our Quays News special in aid of the Joseph Salmon Trust. I'm Rachel Williams.
And I'm Jimmy Mackerel. On Wednesday, the first Conservative Queen's speech in nearly 2 decades promised an EU referendum by 2017, more devolved powers to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and the so-called Snoopers Charter. Joining us in the studio is our political correspondent, Oliver Mackenzie. So, Oliver, what will these bills mean?
Well, you've just hit the nail on the head with some of them, in particular the devolution bill. Scotland Act, Wales Act, Northern Ireland Act, all get an increased devolution. Scotland in particular, with more than 50% of Scotland's public spending being in the hands of Holyrood, an unprecedented thing for the Union. Also in terms of the EU referendum, we now know with a Tory majority that that's definitely going to happen now.
And in regards to that EU referendum, what are David Cameron's options with that?
Well, we know it's going to happen. It was a pledge in the manifesto. The question is when. The date in the manifesto was 2017, and that was the day everyone was sort of banging the drum about in the Tory party. Of course, with David Cameron saying before the election he was going to leave and not actively seek a third term. However, with it being such a passionate issue for some of the more right-wing conglomerates of the Conservative Party, he might consider pushing it forward to 2016 to appease them, get it out early doors, and maybe ensure a more smooth transition of leadership without it kicking into 2017 with a transition of power and an uncomfortable start for the next Prime Minister.
And what else was there included in the Queen's speech?
Well, welfare reform was a major sort of note in the Queen's speech, tied into the full employment spiel that came out from the Queen's speech. The Tories made a pledge to cut £12 billion in welfare. In context, this was to be negotiated off of a party should a hung parliament exist. However, that's not happened. A Conservative majority is there, and these £12 billion cuts need to happen. Where they could cut child benefit and tax credits. However, this doesn't really keep the image portraying of a Conservative party. However, what they cut, we won't know. We'll know in the budget in a few weeks' time.
Thanks very much, Oliver. Thank you for that.
Full employment was an ominous message in Wednesday's Queen's speech. But what would full employment mean? Gemma Crozier reports on the rise of zero-hour contracts and their effect on insecure working conditions.
Most people just want to secure work to pay the bills each month. That may mean working under a zero-hour contract. Over 1 million people are on call to work for a company as and when they are needed. Across the region, thousands of workers face a daily struggle with no guarantee of work. Sinead has been on such a contract for the past year, working as a singing teacher in the northwest.
I can't for definite say that I can do things. I've got to be so careful regarding that. I've got this much left. I might not get paid for another 28 days. I've got to make that last May. I can find it quite hard because from day one that I send my invoice in for the work that I've actually done, there's 28 days from then onwards that I could be paid.
Recent figures show 1 in 5 employers are using zero-hour contracts. Among them are Boots, Buckingham Palace and Sports Direct. The oldest and the youngest are most likely to be employed on zero-hour contracts, and 14% don't have enough to get by on them. With the elections just around the corner, this issue has become a talking point.
I don't think they're very fair on the people which have to take these offers up.
Say you got like 16 hours and they dropped it to 12 or say 8 hours, then that parent is then maybe the tax credits will get affected.
Because I'd like to actually know if I have hours or not, whether or not I have to wait, because you never know if I could be lying on next month's rent or something.
Whether or not these contracts are a reflection of our economic times, zero-hour contracts are set to become ever more common, particularly to oldest and youngest in the workforce. Gemma Crozier, Quays TV News.
Commuters are facing long delays in Manchester city centre after a main road has been partially closed.
Portland Street is currently undergoing resurfacing, which will take place until late evening on Monday. Transport for Greater Manchester has warned travellers to expect delays and to plan ahead.
The Bank of England is searching for a leading figure in the visual arts to replace economist Adam Smith on the £20 note. People are being asked to nominate deceased artists, including architects, designers, filmmakers, photographs and painters to grace the currency. Ainsley Harriott was even suggested, but unfortunately he's not dead yet.
No, not quite. Famous Salfordians eligible include artist L.S. Lowry and A Taste of Honey playwright Sheila Delaney. Nominations can be made on the Bank of England website and they close on the 19th of July. So who would you nominate, Jamie?
I'm still backing Ainsley Harriott. I've got to be honest, like, one way or another, I hope he gets on it.
Yeah. Another one that I've heard is Winston Churchill.
That's a bit of a boring one, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Let's back Ainsley, you know what I mean? Let's back Ainsley.
Who's still alive.
We can sort that. Manchester City Council bosses have defended spending thousands of pounds dealing with a homeless protest in the city centre for a number of weeks.
Activists have been camping out at Albert Square and St Peter's Square after the Town Hall have cut £2 million from its homelessness funding in the last year. Our reporter Alex Worthing visited the camp to investigate.
The amount of men, women and children being put out onto the streets is on the rise. Cuts to various government funds means that the number of homeless shelters are in decline, not only in Manchester, but across the country.
Well, these guys need homes. I mean, there's been an increase of 50% in homelessness in the last 5 years in Manchester. Now, whether that's to do with cuts in public funding or whether it's the approach of the way we deal with homelessness that needs to change, that's something that needs to be worked on and strategies need to be developed.
A scheme set up to help people cover some of the cost of housing, known as DHP, has been cut. In the North West, spending has been reduced 7% from £15.5 million in 2013 to just over £14 million this year.
Response in different areas is so different. Like Manchester's is the worst in all over the UK. In Glasgow, you're out for one night, you get re-home the day after.
I've heard a guy told me to go to Belfast. Yeah. He said if I go to Belfast, I'll spend one night on the streets.
Like Glasgow,
the next night, I'll be given a place.
One night out only.
We approached Manchester City Council for an interview, but they declined to comment.
One charity believes that derelict buildings like this one could be converted into shelter at little or no cost to the government, which would see hundreds of people put back into accommodation. Alex Worthing, Quays TV News.
The Greater Manchester Fringe Festival is returning for a 4th year. Artists including comedians and playwrights will be scattered over 26 venues across the region in July. Terry Christian is one of those artists and he will be performing his Naked Confessions of a Recovering Catholic stand-up comedy show.
Naked Confessions of a Recovering Catholic, slowly but surely, in a wading through treacle way. I mean, I've probably done about 30 gigs, but that's like spread out over the best part of 18 months now. The themes are all about guilt and feeling bad about everything, even sometimes feeling bad about the fact that you don't feel bad. And we've all been there.
Now, I'm sure you've heard of the Daleks and that blue police box. Well, Doctor Who is the longest running sci-fi series in television, celebrating 52 years on the air.
A college in Stockport is delivering a course on the much-loved programme. Our reporter Lois Martin travelled through time and space, or took the 192 bus, to investigate.
I'm at Aquinas College, which has a wide range of adult learning courses. Today, I'm here to find out about one of the newest editions, which is guaranteed to take you out of this world. Doctor Who celebrated its 50th anniversary last year and has a huge following around the world. Now, a college in Stockport is offering learners a chance to find out more about the mysterious Doctor.
Well, the idea of the class is to explore the history of the programme from 1963 onwards, to look at how it was developed by Sidney Newman in the spring and summer of 1963, and with Verity Lambert as producer, and basically tell the story of the show, all the sort of ups and some of the downs, the 12 Doctors and the many companions, and the hundreds of episodes, all in 11 weeks.
Michael's been teaching here for a couple of years now, doing the Radical Women's History, which he's an expert in, and we thought it would be nice to do something a little bit different. And he came to us and he said he's got all these different ideas, and one of them was Doctor Who, and we thought, why not? I can imagine there's a lot of Doctor Who fans in the local area and in the world who'd be keen to sort of come along and see what he's got to say.
Total extermination!
Each week, students explore a different Doctor's era.
Well, we find it's interesting, it's not just the stories that we're concentrating on, we're finding out behind the production and the inspiration behind the conception of Doctor Who.
Lois Martin reporting for Quays News from the TARDIS.
What TV show would you study then, Rachel?
Well, I won't study a TV show, but I have heard that there's such thing as Beyonce studies, so I'd like to follow a bit of Queen Bee.
You'll get some job out of that, I'm sure. FC United of Manchester will be celebrating their 10th anniversary with a friendly against Portuguese club Benfica. The club formed in 2005 in the protest of the takeover of the Glazers at Manchester United. FC United will be hosting Benfica in their new £5.5 million stadium, Broadhurst Park. Kick-off is at 7:45.
Well, some FC United fans have had a bit of fun promoting the game. They have dressed statues and monuments in the city centre with FC United hats and scarves. I didn't realise that Abraham Lincoln was a Reds fan.
It shows what football supporters can actually do when they have a vision of something different and when they come together with a common purpose. I mean, I think, you know, that commitment of the supporters to actually get this facility developed shows that you can actually achieve something when people come together, when ordinary people come together and try and make a difference.
With craft beer and novelty brewing rising in popularity, one Salford entrepreneur received a £10,000 grant to start his own brewery with a twist. Lewis Smith has more.
These warehouse doors may not seem out of the ordinary, but behind them lies a brewing laboratory to tickle the taste buds of any fermentation fanatic. Meet Aaron Dark, the mastermind behind a unique drinks company selling alcohols made with all natural ingredients. In October, Aaron won a £10,000 grant in the Ideas Town competition, money he's now used to establish his own brewery.
This entire space here, which is in sort of a brewer's, or start-off brewer's mind, is perfection. It's got good water access, it's got electricity, wide open space. It's, you know, without Test Town, this sort of push forward would not have been possible.
Aaron sources his own unique ingredients, exotic honeys from around the world, rare malts, and even his own yeast compound to create something slightly different from your average tipple.
Look at the colour of that though, it's fantastic. No, we have a smell of it.
Even the brewing process itself is different to his commercial counterparts.
Hops that I use probably about maybe 40 times more hops than what your sort of standard brewers like Boddington's or you know, any sort of the Royal Brewery, a place like that. They don't really use that many different types of hops. So the idea here is that we can create so many different types of flavours. Like I've got 8 different types of fermentation vessels, and I can turn those over quite quickly with different flavours. But also, people like a sort of small artisanal scale, and they're more willing to try different things.
Aaron has already seen great success with his range of meads and gins, and even the world's first mead champagne, but is looking to develop his company even further.
Hopefully by September, I'm looking to have 5 employees. So I want to try and do a lot more in the local area, because I want to try and use as many local produce as possible. So if I can do, I want to try and build up the local area to build local produce.
And just like everything in Aaron's brewery, even the name is slightly unusual.
Okay, so it's a bit of a difficult name. So it's a Zymagorium. Basically, it's a merge of 2 words, which is Zymergy and Emporium.
So next time you go for a pint, you might just find something a little bit different, as a Zymagorium looks to take us into a brave brew era. Lewis Smith, Quays TV News.
15 hours of live television, you have to expect some problems.
Absolutely. That's all we've got time for Quays today, though.
Thank you and goodbye.